you got anything in common with Iron Maiden?
I hope not.
By the late 1980s, the thrashers and the hair bands were in a heavy metal war. Thrashers owned the hearts of true metal fans. Hair bands owned the charts. Then one band proved you could make hit metal songs and still kick plenty of ass.
You know where you are? You in the jungle, baby! You gonna die! It's a true story, that ain't no lie. So welcome to the
Guns N' Roses were street, they were tough, they could rap poison around one of their little baby fingers. They were the real deal. They were like the flip side of Sunset Strip. They weren't all glammed up and pretty, and they were kind of rough around the edges.
Well, 1987 was very good for these guys. This is the first video from Guns N' Roses. Here's Welcome to the Jungle.
Welcome to the jungle. We got fun and games.
This wasn't one of those manufactured bands where they get a bunch of guys together because of the way they look. This is guys who hung out together and probably hated each other a lot of the time, but they were going to make the kind of music that made sense to them.
Formed out of the ashes of two bands, LA Guns and Hollywood Rose, Guns N' Roses represented LA's underground all-stars. But it was the final addition to the roster that solidified the G&R sound.
We ran an ad for a heavy metal punk glam guitarist, blues influenced. And Slash showed up and we said, nah. But he kept popping up everywhere we were at, and all of a sudden we started working together.
I still remember to this day the first time I heard Guns N' Roses demos given to me in 1986 by their manager, who said to me, see what you think of these. I've agreed to manage them, but I really don't know why, because they're not going anywhere.
It's gonna burn you down!
In 1987, Guns N' Roses released Appetite for Destruction, a landmark album that has sold over 15 million copies, still a record for any debut. But initially, sales were slow, and G&R hovered below the radar.
Now, I was actually with Guns N' Roses in San Francisco when they supported the Cult, when the album broke into the top 100. Let's put it into perspective. This is Appetite for Destruction. It had just broken into the top 100. And they were overwhelmed. They were so delighted.
Their first album came out in 1987, and nothing happened. It wasn't until they went on tour with Aerosmith in 1988 that Sweet Child of Mine was released, and the whole thing exploded. People in Aerosmith still complain about how their opening act was bigger than they were.
Appetite for Destruction is the best rock record of the 80s. That record was so good that it was very common to hear people say things like, well, I hate metal, but I like this Guns N' Roses record. And it was one of the rare times where that happened, and the people who really did like metal didn't decide they were going to turn on that band for their success.
They came up with this sound that somehow, I mean, even Metallica fans knew this was an edgy sound. Because it was rock that actually rocked really, really, really hard.
Sharpening the musical edge of the band was their real-life volatility. Stories of drug abuse, fistfights, and internal squabbles only fueled the public's interest. And guaranteed G&R would play to sold-out audiences every night.
On stage, you knew you were going to get a show that was very unpredictable, because you didn't know if you were going to get one song or you were going to get 10 songs. And if there was something that got under the craw of Axl, he would tell it.
We never know how we're going to end the show. We never know if we're going to do an encore or if I'm going to get pissed off and leave. Because something always happens at the end of a show for me, for some reason.
But when Axl was on, he was the greatest frontman in the world.
For a lot of people, that was part of the fascination, was that Axl Rose was danger personified.
GNR appealed to all the sections. There was enough glam about them for the girls to love what they were doing. There was enough streetwise attitude and hard riffing for the metal fans to think they're cool. They covered all the bases without realizing it.
In 1991, Guns N' Roses released their long-anticipated double album Use Your Illusion 1 and 2 to hungry throngs of fans, solidifying the band's status as metal's most mainstream act.